Now, the first question which we may ask is, for the sake of argument, if Narad had not come, what would have happened? He has come, all right, etc., etc. The story is telling you all that. Suppose he had not come, then what would have happened? In other words, the most puzzling, imponderable aspect of the epic is about the visit of Narad. He is coming, he is kind of just dropping straight from the sky. For what reason? There is no background, nothing is given to us earlier. Suddenly you see somebody coming here and making a kind of an announcement here like that. Pardon me? Yeah, out of the blue. It's really happening out of the blue. That's right, yeah. So now this is also a kind of a literary device to carry the story forward. To carry the story forward. In Greek tragedies, this is used quite often. It is what they call it, out of the machine. Deus ex machina. Deus ex machina. In other words, the story, the tragedy is developing in a certain manner, and suddenly something else happens, and the tragedy takes a different turn altogether. So here also, the epic is moving in a certain manner. Suddenly something happens, and it provides a turning point to the entire sequence after that. That is called Deus ex machina in the literary terminology. It is a Greek phrase. Sorry, it is a Latin phrase. Now, this is what they do in the Greek tragedies. The drama is being played in the arena, in the amphitheater, and suddenly somebody is hanging from top and making a declaration, this, that, whatever you see. That is the machine, and here is the divine or whosoever agent who is coming and making an announcement. And from that point onward, the tragedy takes a new turn. Or takes a new turn, you see. So that is why it is called Deus ex machina, the divine intervention, I would call it. So this is Narad's visit in that sense is an aspect of divine intervention in the working of the cosmic things. It is a purposeful action. So in that sense, it will be rather wrong also to say if Narad had not come. It looks as if Narad had not come, what would have happened, you see. But the imponderable is quite puzzling still. See, for instance, now you take, I'll give a few examples of the Trojan War to start with. The Trojan War, Deus ex machina, they call it. And the modern picture has shown you that big liver. In fact, in some of the old plays, you might have seen some faces standing from the cloud and presenting something, or from the mountain ranges, somebody peeping out and saying something. You see, those things. You see. Or nowadays, from big galleries, the gods are standing in the gallery there, and the action is going on the stage down below. You see, that is all Deus ex machina. So I was giving the example of the Trojan War to begin with. Now, in the Trojan War, You know that the siege was there for 9 years and nothing was happening. Trojan was Greek siege. Yeah. Yeah. All the 1,000 ships were there and people were there. Yeah. 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 But then suddenly in the ninth year, they got decided that something should happen. This is not going to be useful. Yeah. So the first thing which happened was the Greek hero Sarpedon. Sorry, the Trojan hero Sarpedon was killed by Patroclus. Patroclus was the friend of Achilles. So Sarpedon was killed by Patroclus. Then Hector killed Patroclus in a war. And that infuriated Achilles that my friend is killed by Hector and I must take full revenge. And therefore, he goes for the fight. Otherwise, he was restraining. He didn't want to participate at all in the battle, Achilles. When Patroclus was killed, then he got up and then nothing doing. He took up the armor and went to the fight. Now, it was known to everybody that after the death of Hector by Achilles, Achilles will die. His death was imminent after the death of Hector. Achilles himself knew about that. So at that point of time, he had two choices. Just forget about the battle and save your life. Just forget about the battle and save your life. Otherwise, accept what is fated. Plunge into the battle and die after the battle. So at that point of time, Achilles had a choice what to do. Either stay away from the battle or participate in the battle. Now assume for a minute that Achilles had opted to stay away from the battle. The whole story would have been totally different. Whole story would have been totally different. It was necessary that the Greek win the battle. It was necessary that a new era was to begin after the battle. The new era of Greek civilization, of reason, of arts had to begin that thing. So everything as if now hinged upon what decision Achilles was going to take. To participate or not to participate. But in the case of Achilles particularly, it was his own instinct, his own svabhava, Kshatriya dharma, which prompted him to plunge into the battle and meet the consequence. If I die, let me die. How does it matter? That was his Kshatriya dharma, the warrior spirit which came out and accepted the challenge, you see. Now, this whole thing, therefore, that imponderable was there. Had Achilles not participated, then would the Greek civilization arrived? See, the entire consequences now depend upon that one particular action there, you see. But there is a greater hand of destiny which as if wanted the Greek civilization to arrive on the scene. And it is that destiny which prepares its own instruments, the instruments not knowing what they are doing. A kind of a compulsion comes on them, and the destiny so to say, forces Achilles to plunge into battle. So it is the power of destiny which is really working there, not so much the individuals. In the same way, one might say to some extent, Narad, whether he comes or not, the destiny is fixed. The destiny is fixed. This has to happen. But his coming here means that he is lending himself to the movement of destiny. He is participating in the process of destiny. And there is something in him which responds to it. So there is no question of his coming or not coming. He is, so to say, molded, he is bound by destiny to participate in this. Now, this is one example I had given you of the arrival of Greek civilization. You can go a step back in terms of the biblical story of the forbidden fruit or the forbidden fruit. Now, Adam was made in charge of the Garden of Eden. He was told, stay away from that particular tree, don't touch it, don't eat its fruit, and all that. You see, he knew it, he knew also the consequences of that. But at the same time, the one who had told him to stay away from it, he also knew that this man is going to bungle. He is going to bungle. He is going to eat the fruit, you see. He knew also, see. So the mechanism is the Satan comes in the form of a serpent and persuades Eve, what a beautiful fruit, etc., etc. First he praises her beauty and all that kind of a thing. And she succumbs to his praise. And then she eats the fruit. And this man, out of vehement love for his spouse, eats the other half of the fruit. His love for the spouse is more important than the word of God. and and then the fall takes place. Now again the question is, had he not eaten the fruit, what would have happened? Nothing would happen. Things would have been as they were. In fact, it was necessary again in the higher scheme of things that he must eat fruit. And the mother tells that Theon used to narrate to her that this serpent is nothing but is none other than the power of evolution. And it is that power of evolution which is telling Prakriti, nature, Eve, that she has to move forward. She has to move forward. In other words, the life of Eden was a frozen life, paradisal life, no further progress. Evolution would have come to a stop, would have stopped there itself. If evolution has to move forward, the fall is necessary, is inevitable. And therefore, everybody is playing a wonderful role. The Satan, Eve, the angels come and tell them, don't eat, still it happens. The fall was inevitable because it is already destined, designed somewhere. So, in other words, if there is that kind of a higher resolution, decision already, nothing can stop things happening. Nothing can stop things happening. It has been already decided that Savitri must take human birth, etc., etc. All these things must have. Things now around that get organized. Around that get organized, you see. You take again the same example further Christ, on the eve of his crucifixion, one of his own disciples deceives him for a sum of 30 pieces of gold, and the next day crucifixion takes place for 30 pieces of gold. Now, those 30 pieces of gold are really most precious in the story of the entire growth of civilization, of march of human progress, of evolution. Those 30 pieces of gold are absolutely precious. So even though he is doing a kind of an evil act, it is by that things get promoted, things move forward. Nothing could stop that. It is as if a higher decision has been taken and then things work out here. Who becomes an instrument for what? That is immaterial. But things then automatically get worked out. Same way, Naras also coming, he's of that kind, you see. In fact, in the battlefield of Mahabharata, both the armies are standing face to face. Oceanic armies on both the sides, and are ready to fight. The conchs have been blown by both the armies' leaders to take up the weapon, to start the fight, battle. And at that particular moment, the spirit of Arjuna succumbs. He becomes feeble, he gets shaken up, and he starts wondering, what am I doing here? What for all this? I am going to kill my own teachers, my own gurus, my cousins, my brothers, everybody like that. For what? Who wants this kingdom? His spirit succumbs. Then, of course, you have got that big sermon by Krishna, and he coaxes him, look, Arjuna, you can't do that kind of a thing. You have to pick up your weapon and fight. Fight the battle. It is instrument. You have to be the instrument. You have to fight. And he also says that, look, Arjuna, I have already killed the enemy. They do not really exist anymore. I have already killed them. What is that you are going to do? You are simply going to be a cause, a nimitta, a pretext to kill them. As far as the killing is concerned, it's already done. You are going to be only a pretext to kill them. Take up the weapon, kill them, and acquire fame. Be glorious, be victorious, that kind of a thing. Now, again, the same imponderable. Had Arjuna not taken the weapon and said, I'm sorry, I don't want all that kind of thing. I will take sannyasa and run away from the battle. Run away. He could have said that, you see. How that thing.
My question is that God is cruel or kind?
Huh?
God is cruel or kind?
He is always happy. He is not. He is very generous.
Krishna
Very. He is very generous. He is assuming there on the battlefield a figure of terror. Dansha Gralani, all his big jaws, and the whole thing is getting swallowed up. You see, he doesn't bother what you call cruel and all that. You see, everything, all the words are getting swallowed by him. You see, didn't bother about that. So basically, now had Arjuna not taken weapon, what would have happened to those people who had already been killed by Krishna? He said, I already killed them. Be now a pretext. Would they have remained in suspense like that? Hanging there, half, half living, half dead. Half living, half dead. But then again, when he comes here, the avatar or whosoever he be, he does not come with alternative plans of a CEO. If this does not work, I will work by this. He see that the instrument is prepared, goes through, and things are got done. You see. So he now here the beautiful thing is in the case of Krishna, he had a very good instrument who could go by what you would advise him to do. He had that openness, that preparedness, and therefore he turned out to be a really good instrument, and therefore things was got done. In other words, when such great epochal events take place, the cosmic forces, the divine forces, the human forces, everything kind of get arranged in such a way that things unroll in that manner. There is no question of imponderable there. But at the same time, that does not mean that things should not be or need not be worked out. In the case of the Second World War, Sri first kept away from all the developments. But when Paris had fallen, then he could not keep himself aloof. He intervened. And at that time, he found that for his work, Churchill was the best instrument who could receive his force directly. The instrument was there. He could receive his force directly. And then this war proceeded with that, you see. So the instrument was there. But unfortunately, such an instrument was not present in spite of Sri force, in spite of Sri direct intervention in the case of India's independence. The mother saw the country free as a single country, undivided India. In 1942, when the Cripps mission came, they had practically brought the full independence to the country. But then our great wise people, they rejected it. In spite of Sri direct intervention, the instruments were not ready. The instruments were not ready. And therefore the whole cycle had to proceed. And till today we are meeting those consequences of what was done in 1942. The rejection of Cripps mission was the greatest blunder made by the Indian politicians of the time, or the leaders at that time, including Mahatma Gandhi. He told, what does he know, this man sitting in Pondicherry in the cave? What does he know of politics? And he rejected the Cripps mission. The consequences are there still. So basically, although there is a divine plan, there is a divine arrangement, organization, there had to be well prepared instruments. In crucial stages like this, all these things happen together. Narad comes, he delivers the message to Savitri at the crucial moment. So, in a way, we can say that he would not have but come. It is not a question of Narad coming or not coming. He would not have but come, organized. So the question of imponderable does not arise. Achilles would not have but plunged into the battle because things had to go in a certain manner. In a certain manner. All that we can say is that Narad's visit is a wonderful turning point in the narrative of Savitri. In the narrative of Savitri. Turning point. In fact, you can see that the story now takes a totally different turn from this point onward. Savitri has found love. Savitri is to meet death. She has to do yoga. She has to face death, she has to counter with him, she has to conquer him, etc. etc. So that becomes a turning point. In that sense, the Book of Fate is really central to the theme of Savitri.